You know, I'm zooming myself. Okay, guys, it was wonderful. Chag Sameach, everybody. Purim is coming up. So, Bez Hashem, we're going to discuss something. You're all in the same team, right, guys? Baruch Hashem, you guys are catching up to the amount of people that come in Valley Torah Girls School. We get every week like 40. I know, I agree with you. You'll definitely be better than them. Just don't send it to Biden. He's going to raid my house. Okay, yeah. He's sleepy right now, so he's not going to raid my house. Don't worry about it. When he wakes up, he's in danger. You know, some people, it's better to sleep. At least they don't damage anything. He's what? I don't know anything. That's too deep for me. So let's go back. Let's stick to our Torah, guys. Anyway, something that I wanted to share with you people, actually, this is something probably maybe, I don't know if they discuss it, possibly they do. We're going to learn something about Purim, actually. The lesson that we learn is that Jewish people are above nature. We are not limited to nature at all. You know, everything that the Torah says is true. There are some parts of the Torah that are true, but unfortunately, some people don't see the truth. When we talk about certain parts of the Torah that even the non-Jews agree with it, so this is such a strong type of a truth that it penetrates in all the levels. So, you know, even the Goyim see it. Like, you know, Yetziat Mitzrayim was something everybody agreed. 6-day war, everybody said it was a miracle that happened for the Jews. Even reporters, nobody can argue. So actually, one of the things that we're going to discuss about Purim is some of the stuff that I don't think, I mean, I'm not, some people might argue, but at least even amongst the nations, they have seen the absolute truth, how the Jewish people are above nature. Let's look at our history in Purim. As you know, at that time, we were in exile, we were in old Persia. That was actually the luckiest times for the Jews, naturally, and what do you call it? What do you call it? Not diplomatically, whatever. Politically. It was the best time. Why was it politically the best time? Because first of all, the queen was a Jewish woman. We never had in the history that a Jewish woman, was the queen. No, it's not just being a queen. All you guys are Talmidei Chachamim, you know that the Gemara in Brachot says that in certain halachot, ishto kegufo, somebody's spouse, somebody's wife is exactly like the man. For example, you know, Magen Avram discusses that we don't find so much women giving mishloach manot, but they have an obligation to give it. How come we don't find they give it? So the Magen Avram doesn't know, but he says maybe when it comes to mishloach manot, we say ishto kegufo. By the way, Rabbi Vadia argues with that. Rabbi Vadia holds that a woman should give at least one mishloach manot, a woman to a woman. But again, the Magen Avram has this idea taken from Gemara Brachot. Maybe we say ishto kegufo. So when the queen is a Jewish woman, so she's actually an extension of the king. That's a very great thing. Mordechai himself was one of the advisors of the king. It says he used to always walk the Chatzar HaMelech, in the courtyard of Achashverosh. So politically or naturally, Jews are very, very strong. Nevertheless, such a bad decree came that it never happened in the history. Why? Because, you know, the Gemara in Pesachim says that Hashem was so kind that the Jews are scattered in exile. What's a kindness? I thought being together is better. So the Gemara over there says, because if there's a decree against some Jews in one country, at least the Jews in the other countries are not in danger. Like we're one of them, right? I ran away from Iran. Thank God there was United States. 1979, I mean, whatever. I didn't exactly run away. As a student, at that time, you know, we didn't need visas to go to Europe. It was still friendly. It wasn't too, whatever, dangerous, that country. And then, you know, within 3 days, the American, government gave us student visas. But his father came with us too. That's the Maggid of it. We got in 3 days student visas, 150 students. We came to the United States in 79. So again, why was that possible? Because we were scattered. So that's a kindness. Even in times of Egypt, you know that the Jews lived in Mitzrayim and there was no way to run out. But Pharaoh didn't want to kill everyone. He was only interested to kill the boys. But the girls and the women had a chance to stay. But when you go back to Iran, you know, old Persia, the Gemara says in Megillah that he was actually a ruler over the entire world. So the Jews had nowhere to run away to. They couldn't run away anywhere else. Besides that, the decree was to kill everybody. So how could it be in such a good time politically, such a thing happens that all Jews are in danger? So here, you know, the commentators say, we see from here that nature has nothing to do with the Jewish people. Our existence depends on Torah and mitzvot. Politically, naturally, could be the safest time. But because, as the Gemara says, the Jews went and enjoyed the Seudah that Achashverosh made, right? Or some people say it was the sin in times of Nebuchadnezzar when they bowed down to that big idol. So because they were distanced from God, political power didn't mean anything. The decree happened. So then also defined by the salvation. Is that clear so far, guys?
Yeah.
Very simple. Same thing also with the salvation, the same thing happened. Let's say, guys, today, if Jews, let's say many years ago in Iran, they were in danger, right? I don't know if you know about the 13 spies, but I mean, they were not spies. They called them Israeli spies. So anyways, if somebody's in danger, what do you know the governments and politicians do? They make a demonstration, they write letters, they condemn, they do this. So we might think that Esther should have done the same thing too. She didn't do that. What's the first thing that she asked? When Mordechai said, go to Achashverosh, what? I didn't hear you, son. Yeah, he said, make sure everybody in Shushan fasts. And then what did she say? What will I do? What did Esther say about herself? I will also fast. Now, this doesn't make sense. First of all, why did Achashverosh love Esther so much? Believe me, he had no idea who she is. Didn't even know which nation she was. Beauty, she was the most beautiful woman in the whole entire Persian, empire at that time. So now when somebody fasts, you tell me she becomes or he becomes more attractive or less attractive. So why did she do that? Why did she fast? Doesn't make sense. Besides that, they bring it in Shulchan Aruch. If you look in Tov Kuf Ayin Aleph, whatever, I don't know these things. I just looked it up before I came to the class. So you think I'm a big time at Chacham. I'm telling you I'm not. So if you look at Simon Tov Kuf Ayin Aleph, so over there it says, imagine when Jews are in trouble, so one of the ways of getting God's mercy is to fast. What happens on being pursued by enemies? So if I'm going to fast, I'm not able to have the strength to run away. So then the halacha says you should accept upon yourself, when you get out of the trouble, you're going to fast then. And actually the Mefarshim say, because once you take upon yourself to fast, it has the effect of as if you fasted. The salvation will come. So Esther could have done the same thing too. She could have said, you know what, I'm going to eat, I'm going to look nice, I look beautiful. Once the Jews get saved, I'm going to fast then. How did she fast? She will become less beautiful. Go ahead.
Because she was at her beauty with herself. She wasn't actually beautiful. I heard from the bars that she was green, and Hashem put a grace on her.
Right, but when she doesn't eat, she might become green again, no? Or at least not as attractive. Some of you are on the right track. So you see what happens is the Mefarshim say, because again, guys, why did the decree happen? Because the Jews went further from God. So the only way that the salvation is going to come if they get closer to God. So the Jews had to fast. And then Esther had to fast too, because when the community is fasting, the individual cannot separate himself. So if Esther was the only person that needed to fast, she would have just taken upon herself to fast later. But because all the Jews were fasting, she had to fast too. So the halach and Shulchan Aruch didn't apply to her at all. So what do we see in the salvation, people? That also was supernatural. You got to look beautiful. That's only to bring God's blessing in the physical world. But the main thing is being connected to God. Now, at the beginning of the class, I said that even Goyim realize this, that Jews are supernatural. There's an article, I hope I'm not saying bad stuff, Mark Twain, I don't know what kind of person he was, right? Yeah, they say on the Jew. So I saw it years ago, I forgot what it says, I have to go Google it again. But anyways, he says he has a question, what's the secret of the Jews existing? Usually a nation exists based on three things, he says. They share the same country, they share the same language, I think it's customs, the third thing. Culture, right? So then he says Jews don't have the same country. At his time, there was no land of Israel. We don't even all speak Hebrew, we don't speak the same language. Most of us speak English better than Hebrew, unless we're born in an Israeli family. But otherwise, English is, our Mameloshen, the mother's language, mother's tongue. And then not only that, we don't have all the same culture. Tell me, how many of our Ashkenazi brothers eat gefilte fish Friday night? You do? You do? Okay, I don't eat gefilte fish. Anybody loves herring here? It's my problem. Yeah. You love herring? I can't stand it. Any of our Ashkenazi brothers eat gundi Friday night? That's a Persian matzah ball, but it's not made from matzah. Okay, Unless you guys go to a Persian house, any of our Ashkenazi brothers eat korma sabzi.
Oh, hell no.
All the Ashkenazi, okay. It looks like cow's grass. Please, guys, let's go. Also, no, I mean, putting all these things aside, but really, even our customs and culture is not the same. For example, our Ashkenazi brothers and sisters don't eat rice on Pesach, but all the Sephardim eat rice.
Yes. Lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky. The one, by the way, getting off it, somebody asked the guy, are you Sephardi or Ashkenazi? He says, depends. On Passover, I become Sephardi, so I can eat rice. After Passover, I become Ashkenazi, so I don't have to keep glad, according to Ramah. Yes, for Slichot and Ashkenaz, only 7-8 days. No, for Slichot become Chabad. They only say 4 days before Rosh Hashanah. Even between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they don't say anything. So when it comes to Slichot, become a Chabadnik, not the rest of the year. I'm just kidding. So, but anyways, so Mark Twain says, I don't get that. The Jews don't have the same language, not the same country, not the same culture, and they've been persecuted for 19 or 1800 years. He says the Romans came, they ruled for 300 years. They're gone. They're assimilated. The Greeks came for 200 years. The old Persians for a few hundred years. But they assimilated. How could this Jew being persecuted, not the same country, exist? He says this is a mystery. But the Medrash answers. He says, Gadol Haroeh, the shepherd is so great, meaning God, that he actually protects us from all the harm. So he didn't know it. Mark Twain didn't know it. Didn't say it's God. But the Medrash tells us that the Jews are connected to God. We are supernatural. So never underestimate yourself. To be supernatural, obviously you got to be connected to Hashem. And that only comes through keeping Torah and Mitzvot. Thank you for listening.